men don't understand what women don't understand about men. Like that they don't understand us. We don't understand that.
Right.
I feel like, you know what I mean? Really? Like women think that? Like that's how they process the world? Like that sounds so scary. Like if you think, if my husband's mad at me or doesn't think I'm attractive, he won't protect me. He won't provide for me or whatever. And I mean, there's certainly cases where people like abandon their families or whatever, but
yeah,
like that's something that is inherent in masculinity, is this desire to protect.
Yeah.
Not even just your own things, but
sometimes it's the desire to protect things that aren't even yours.
Things that are in your tribe.
Yeah.
I guess in a primal, like a more primal level.
Mm-hmm.
And that can include like your countrymen, I guess, at this in the modern age. But
yep. Yeah. Yeah. The desire to protect against injustice too. Right. It's not every man, I guess, as I think about it, but
it's not every male.
Right.
But I think that there's things that constitute being a man, like what society recognizes and honors as desirable traits in manhood and masculinity that is universal across cultures and time.
Sure. I would say that there's a lot of people that society would say these are men that don't have the conceptual framework for, right? I will defend people against injustice because it's injustice, right?
Because it's the right thing to do.
There's a lot of men that will defend tribe. They will defend familiar. They will defend those near to them. They will defend for the purposes of being perceived a certain way.
Sure.
But the guys that will say, no, this is unjust and I will not allow it to continue, is a smaller subset of people.
It is. Although I think how healthy a society is may be indirectly correlated to how many of those men there are in the society. I think that unhealthy societies, I mean, look at failing countries around the world. It's a lot of selfishness. It's a lot of, I'm going to get mine and screw everyone else. Or very tribal. America's trending more tribal recently even. But societies historically that have thrived and or prevailed in direct combat situations where it's societal survival at stake, essentially. That's like the direct, our culture versus your culture, who's going to win is war. And those societies, it does tend to be the ones that are willing to fight for something greater than just their own country, even something that's like having something. How do you say it? It's transcendent. It's beyond just fighting for not dying. You're fighting for something greater than yourself.
Right.
And we see that in, like, those are the stories that resonate. I think that's something that's really interesting looking at history, is looking at the characters that stand out in history. And it's like, why do people gravitate to Julius Caesar, to Alexander the Great, to Napoleon, like these men who accomplished these great things? And it's because they feel like Aragorn, or not that like Aragorn's obviously portrayed, but he's an ideal. He's a character. He's not a real person.
Right.
These were real men who accomplished things that very few men ever did, despite their personal foibles or failures in ethics or morality. And I think that stands out. That's things that men see that and are like, oh, this is possible. You look at, like, fantasy stories give you something to aspire to, but there's a part of you that's like, but that's not a real person. And so you forgive yourself for failing to live up to that person. But when you look at someone who's like a real historical figure, you're like, well, what am I accomplished? That he, like, look what this person did at this age.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just I don't know, it's just a different thing. But
yeah. Yeah. It's the old, Alexander at 32 rules the known world. Me at 34 can't find a pair of matching socks after I do laundry.
mm-hmm.
It's the
Yeah.
it's the encouragement to get our stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think why do you think that women have such a hard time understanding this part of men? Because I feel like it's a human thing to respect like honorable, like living with honor, having like a higher ideal, sacrificing yourself for others. I feel like women understand that concept, but it doesn't resonate with them the same way it does with men, it seems, or they just don't.
I don't know if I'm a good enough expert at psychology to answer that. So I guess, hot take from my life experience. Those things raise emotion, unexpected emotion in a man, unexpected drive and motivation in a man that doesn't map the same for women. The urge to make a great sacrifice for your people is one that's difficult to explain. That the emotional pull of it is difficult to explain, because you can describe the scenario and you can't really explain the emotional draw of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like what do guys cry at during movies, there's some overlap between the things that girls cry when they see something and guys cry when they see something. There's some overlap there, and it's different. Guys cry when a man is betrayed in a really powerful way. And that doesn't necessarily evoke the same response. Guys cry when a man makes an enormous sacrifice and that sacrifice leads to success or a better outcome, right? Guys cry when a man dies for his principles and it turns out he was deceived, right? And so he thought he was dying for his principles, but he wasn't. That's one of the deepest betrayals.
Right.
Right. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's...
I think I would add to that, a man, like you said, when it makes a difference. I think when a man dies fighting for a cause he believes in and it doesn't make a difference. And you can argue it, but like I look at the scene in Lord of the Rings with Boromir, where he is fighting to save the hobbits. And it's not that it doesn't make a difference, but it's ultimately unsuccessful. They are taken. Fighting this last valiant to the death battle. It's the Alamo. It's you're fighting this futile battle, but you are fighting till your last breath and go down swinging. And there's a lot of honor in that. And there's stories in history of opponents honoring people who died valiantly like that even. So I think it's something that even enemies can recognize in one another. But
yeah, I don't know. Well, there's always a lot of back and forth around, men think this way, women think this way. And there's differences. I feel very confident saying there's differences in the way our brains are wired and the way we're socialized. There is both nature and nurture here.